Welcome to another Optmyzr marketing interview. I'm Ashwin from Optmyzr, and today I'm joined by a wonderful digital marketing expert from Canada. Aashna is the performance marketing manager at TripArc, a provider of booking, travel, and tour platforms. She's here to talk about her journey through marketing, her approach to omni-channel PPC strategy, and how she works with clients to consistently deliver great results. Aashna, thank you for joining us. Now, you've lived and worked in two countries. So tell us, what is the biggest professional difference between Canada and India?
Even when I was in India, I was working with an agency wherein most of our clients were here in North America. I did work with, a few of Indian projects. I was doing real estate projects in India. I was doing freelancing. Then I worked with in-house brands also in India. The major difference as to, that I see here is the teams are very aligned when it, comes to marketing teams in Canada. What I've seen in the past 1 year, everybody has a kind of an aligned role. If we are into PPC, we know that these are the set of KPIs, and these are the deliverables that we have, as opposed to in India. The processes were not in place, and most of the places that I've got like done internships at, or started my career off at. So yeah, the major difference that I see, and the second is of course the awareness level of the client. There is in India, like, people do not people have this mindset, when you hand over your marketing to someone, or you hire an agency, or you're outsourcing your marketing to like a freelancer or anything. Then I have seen in India, through my experience, the client just leave things away. Okay, then it's no longer something that they look at. It's been difficult for me to get the clients on calls when I wanted to discuss something which would benefit their business overall, like within the marketing space. So but in Canada it's totally opposite. The clients are very much involved. They're open to feedback. They are more ready to participate, basically. Like in India, if you have to get a VSL recorded for your funnel, or you have to get reviews and testimonials from their client, it's in a way, like considered as, oh, it's my job because I am taking care of their marketing. So it somehow falls into your umbrella. But it's different here, like, because the clients are more involved. VSLs and getting reviews from their customers and things like that become easy. And what I've seen with in Canada is because they're more tech savvy. Like overall they're more tech savvy, so they have access to like pixels are in place, and they can quickly, if I have to update their billing information or do something like that within their ads manager, or for example like Facebook also. So they're more tech savvy to take care of those little things on their own, which in India I really used to struggle, because like client wouldn't be really involved. They would be rather focusing on their sales, or other aspects, and just hand over marketing to this one person. So in that case it really becomes difficult.
Everything you said, I've experienced. And the biggest difference for me is North American clients treat you as a partner, but
Right.
in India, they mostly treat you as a vendor.
One thing I have seen is India is a very price sensitive market. Like tomorrow, if we as commonly speaking to a client, and you go ahead and give them like a discount of say 5,000 or 10,000 on your retainers, they will probably
Mhm.
just choose you over me without understanding the value. Of course, we will have different experiences. We will bring in different things to the table. We'll add different values. But the clients here in North America, they are aware. As I said, it's basically drill downs to the awareness levels, that they understand the value. And as you correctly said, they consider you as a partner. So they're really involved in what value that you bring to the table. One thing that I would really want to say, people who are just watching this and are beginners and getting into PPC freelancing, always get contracts signed. I have done that mistake, and I have like it becomes a nightmare. Like just moving before moving to Canada, when I was doing freelancing with the real estate project, I did not tend to sign a contract before that here. But and then those terms were not made, and ideally I couldn't do anything. I mean, they are in a position where there's nothing that I can bring up then, that this was the discussion, or these are the deliverables, and stuff like that. So but you're in North America, like for whatever, even if it's like a one time ad audit consulting or freelancing, I always ensure that I get contract signed, and the client is quite comfortable doing that because like everything works properly over here. So the major, yeah, I have been, I mean, a really that would say a lack of my conscious that I should have got contract signed in India. So I've faced that issue a lot of time. So that's it.
Yeah, that's very good advice. So anybody listening, make sure
Yes,
you get
yes,
everything
yes.
in writing.
And if the client
Yeah.
is not ready to sign the contract, then it's a red flag there and there, because you do not want
Yep.
like unlimited scope of work coming. You do not want the payment terms to be, missed and stuff like that. It's not worth it because, marketing is something that really want to do, and that's your space. So you should really choose a good client. I mean, a lot of, from based on my experience from these clients, there are a lot of clients that I do not work with right now because I'm okay with leaving the money on the table, but I really want my
Yeah.
peace of mind. I really want to enjoy doing what I want to enjoy my craft. I do not want to have bad experiences because of someone. So that's
That's a really nice way of putting it. And I think that's good advice for any marketer, not just
yeah,
PPC.
yeah, yeah, for
As a
anybody. Yeah.
creative, as a creative, I would give the same advice. Like,
Right.
make sure that you vet your clients, get things done in writing, and that what you said is right. If somebody doesn't want to sign a contract, big red flag.
Yeah, yeah. So that's one
Yeah,
piece of advice.
nice. So, if you had to pick one brand as a dream client, who would it be?
Oh, so any and everybody into the education space. Education space is something that I'm
Hmm.
very passionate about. Before moving to Canada, I was working with a company. I went in house, so I was working with a brand who was, they were into higher education, and they were basically a combination of SaaS and education. Like they were into the edtech space, so as to say. So for me, education is, that's my passion. Like education sector and delivery is something that I'm really passionate about. So anybody and everybody into the education space is like my dream sector or niche to work with. Yeah, there are different brands, and everybody's just got into the edtech space. So like they're on the same wavelength for me. So anybody into the education space, I'm really and because I've been through that journey, like I did a course from a college here in Toronto last year, like when I transitioned from India to Canada. So I know the entire process. I understand the ideal customer audience. Like I have been that, so I'm able to connect better. So the market research really becomes strong when I do education campaigns. So that's the space that I want to work with.
What's been the easiest and the toughest thing about living in Canada?
About living in Canada, so I'm fortunate. I stay with my family over here, so I really did not have the struggles that like most of other people have to go through, and like a lot of respect for them, because moving to a new country, having to settle down, you suddenly become responsible for everything: your finances, the roof over your head. Of course, your career, and if you're studying, if you're on student visa. So it's fortunate that I have a family, and I do not have that kind of thing. But the initial struggle that was there is finding clients, because when you come as an immigrant over here, you are definitely, you do not have that kind of portfolio. Okay, if you have like 10-15 years of experience into marketing, and you have a personal brand, so building personal brand is very important, which I think I should have done better when I was in India. So the struggle would have not been as much as I faced when I'd come here. And networking, like the first consulting contract that I did last year in Canada had come because of networking. Like the way we got connected on LinkedIn, I had got connected to someone. They were looking for help with HubSpot, and HubSpot is something I had worked extensively for 5-6 months before moving here. So they hired me as a HubSpot consultant, but because of my experience into paid ads and like basically getting leads and funnels, so I did that for a few months. So that's been the initial struggle. But and the easy struggle, I would say, is then getting my full-time job. Okay, when I'd come to Canada, I realized that without networking, without building a personal brand, is it's going to be difficult for me to even get an interview scheduled with any company that I want to work with. So I started working on my skill set. I expanded from just knowing Google ads and Facebook ads to starting looking at copywriting, email marketing. So that's not what like I wanted to like become very very like good at, because it requires experience to be good at any skill. But now I started to upskill myself, slowly started learning and doing like reading books basically to add to my skill set. So yeah, the biggest struggle was getting that first consulting or getting a part-time job into marketing here. And the easiest thing I would say is what helped me is because I had worked for North American clients for 2.5 years. When I got into my full-time job as a performance marketing manager, that's the role I currently do, it was easy for me to sort of understand what's happening. Like they're different. If I had just worked in with like Indian clients, the geography, the customer behavior, everything is very different. So having that kind of experience back home really helped me, like it was very easy and natural to me. It wasn't like that, oh, well, I've suddenly started working for a different set of audience. So that became easy for me.
How did you find yourself in search engine marketing in PPC? What has that journey been like? You mentioned you've been
Yeah.
doing this for about 5 years now, so talk to us
Yeah.
a little bit
Yeah.
about that.
So yeah, as I mentioned, I started my career into the education space. I was working with Bombay Stock Exchange as a academic advisor. That time I was into sales. So I did that role for 1 year. I mean, I was going to go to the next level, but I decided not to do that because I wanted to get into digital marketing. So digital marketing that time was booming, like it was starting that bag. I'm talking about 2014, 15 in India. I mean, of course, brands and like bigger people who have a lot of experience into marketing were already probably doing that, but that as a career option taught in colleges wasn't a thing that time. So I heard about it. I saw a couple of ads about digital marketing be this digital space being the next thing. I did a course into digital marketing, and then I landed as a PP. So I began my career as a PPC analyst. The one piece of advice I'll again want to give people who are watching this and starting again is going to be try to get internships while you're doing the course. So when I was doing my digital marketing course, I got an internship with a startup wherein it was a fintech startup. So wherein I used to, whatever I would learn in my class in the morning, I would go and next day, try and implement in the internship that I was doing. So that sort of, so because so one thing for me is till the time I do not implement what I'm learning and what I'm being exposed to, it really doesn't make sense to me. Just holding knowledge and not practically applying, it really does. That's not what I enjoy. So whatever I was learning in those 3 months, I went ahead and applied. And once that course was done, I joined an agency for about 2.5 years. So the first year I joined as an SEM analyst, wherein I would manage anything between like 150 to 200 campaigns a month, and they were all local service based businesses here in North America. Then 1 year into
Mhm.
the role, I was promoted as the senior SEM analyst, wherein now just not doing the campaigns, I was also conducting training, like anything that would come new into auction. Like the average page position was vanishing those days, so suddenly the importance of auction insights report came into picture, because you still need to know what's happening. So looking at auction insights report and helping the other junior SEM analysts, giving trainings to people who were like joining in the team, so kind of a buddy session, helping them get on track. Then I was nominated to improve the process of the agency, like and we were using Salesforce those days. So rather than just documenting one liners about the campaign, we started into something like storytelling, because clients so what would happen is we would manage the campaigns in India, but the clients here, need to know what's happening with their campaigns. And clients do not understand technical language. So suddenly, the CPL is XYZ. You start have to explaining that, oh, what is CPL, oh, what happened to the CPL, why is it this, why is it high compared to the last month, previous month, what happened. So you suddenly start to kind of storytelling your entire performance marketing review. So I started doing that, and then like it became a process of the company. I was nominated to, as I mentioned, to improve the process. I After 2.5 years, I think I saturated that role. There was nothing beyond that I could do in that particular agency. Then I moved to another startup agency as a senior digital marketer. And I mean, I cannot be enough grateful for, like getting this opportunity, because here is when, I expanded my horizon. I was just no longer a Google Ads specialist or, Google Ads analyst. I became a omni-channel marketer, platform agnostic. You give me any platform, I've run ads on Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest, so any and every. And I started looking marketing at a very holistic level. I started knowing about funnels, because I realized beyond a particular point, you cannot do anything within the Google Ads Manager. You cannot do anything between the Facebook Ads Manager. The issue is probably on the landing page. The issue is in the product itself, pricing. So looking at funnels entirely is what I learned here at Superflow Agency. That's where I worked for another a year, and then I moved in house. I was working for the education edtech space. I did that role for 4 5 months, and then my visa came, so I moved to Toronto. And right now I work with a travel company. And yeah, so the biggest change for me, going back to your previous question, is because all my experience throughout has been into local businesses. Okay, local service businesses. The ticket size was different. It could be real estate, it could be dentist, doctor, immigration, so these sectors. But right now what I'm doing, that space is completely different. They are into a luxury travel space. So I shifted from a local service based business niche to suddenly starting with a different kind of an audience. So here is what we target is like top household income people who are looking for private guided tours into luxury spaces. And here again, I whatever I had learned in Superflow, I got to implement here also, because it wasn't a ads manager problem. Right now, how much keywords, how much ad groups can you keep moving here and there? It's important. Optimizing the campaign is very important. That's the basic. But then you have to start looking at like the product, like it could be a product issue, how to test different creatives around that, testing different landing pages, then looking at heat maps. Like I extensively use Crazy X to see what's happening on the landing page. And so testing and strategically getting involved into marketing is been the major difference for my career, like compared to India and what I'm doing right now.
Tell me about, so one
Yeah.
of the things you mentioned was omni-channel. Talk to us a little bit more about what people should keep in mind when they go from focusing on just one platform to focusing on that bigger marketing strategy. Now, you mentioned funnels, but what are some of the other things that people should keep an eye out for?
So I would say is, when you talk about omni-channel marketing, you need to realize firstly that Google Ads is not the solution for everything. When I looked at campaigns when I was a Google Ads specialist, I would always find answer to every problem within the Google Ads platform, which wasn't true. Now when I go back to thinking, oh, those campaigns could have done much better if I had the liberty to run them on Facebook, because they were local campaigns. So what you need to understand is how you can couple them together. Because Google, you're going to be getting the bottom of the funnel traffic who are ready to buy, who who are aware of their problems. They've been looking for solutions. They are trying to settle in with your brand. So those are the kind of bottom of the funnel traffic that you can target with Google. But still there is a major traffic. What happens to the top of funnel, what happens to the middle of the funnel traffic? So those kind of traffic is where the majority of the audience is in given in any market. So targeting them through Facebook ads, or any of the social ads, it could be LinkedIn or stuff like that. So do not ignore that. Just because now you want to leave Google ads and you do not want to be called as a Google ad specialist, you cannot ignore that part of strategy also. So you have to have a mechanism or a process to take to club both things together and make that work. And so it's going to increase your level of understanding. Probably there could be chances that Facebook is doing good only for, say, remarketing. People who visit your campaign through Google ads and they've not converted, rather than targeting them just on Google display network or YouTube ads. Now you can actually reach out to them on Facebook and Instagram also via retargeting campaigns. So, and one thing that I have realized over my career, and I want to, tell people is changes like iOS updates, and all these things will keep coming and keep going. That's been on the platforms forever. Like Google's ETAs have gone, but there are other things that you can keep doing. So those are very tactical things that you should be worried about. I mean, I'm not worried about when people, like when iOS changes are happening, people will be like, oh, the leads are going to go down, what happening to the attribution and stuff like that. I wasn't really worried, because at the end, if you're getting that kind of leads, and you're getting that kind of volume, if your marketing strategy is in place. So, and the second importance of omni-channel, I tell you, when I was freelancing for this real estate agent, we were doing Google ads campaign. But real estate is a tricky space, especially in India, when you are a broker and you're trying to advertise as actually the project and like whatever. So
Hmm.
there has been months wherein our Google ad account was suspended, because they thought that we're actually showing ourselves as those big brands, which wasn't the case. The agents definitely have a contract with the builders, that they'll be going to be running their PPC ads and stuff like that. So in that case, because we had the Facebook ads also running, we were never out of leads. Because with local businesses, they are dependent on these, like on a not a daily but on a weekly basis, because they have salespeople. So you have to give them leads so that they can keep going. So in that case, yes, till the time we were getting our Google Ads account back, which we got back after I think a month or so. But within that month, if we did not have Facebook ads, this one would have been out of business. Okay, there so, and the so when you are an omni-channel marketer, and you have your eggs in different baskets, you can definitely, so whatever ad spend that we were not doing on Google because of our ad account issues, we quickly shift that to Facebook. And because the campaign was optimized, so it's not as easy as, oh, my Google campaign account is not working, so now I'm going and setting my campaigns on Facebook. No, that doesn't work. Campaigns take time to optimize, which most of the clients and people do not realize. They become impatient. That's what I've seen with clients in India. They really become impatient. So they want daily good quality leads coming, and like every day cannot be same. There are so many factors into consideration. So yes, omni-channel marketing helps when you when, especially when you are a local business. Yeah.
So Odie Caspi on Twitter, he tweeted a screenshot a few days ago that um, his ads may run to a limited audience because there's a trademark word in the ad text, and the word is blizzard.
Oh,
So it's probably the blizzard dessert at Dairy Queen,
right.
which is trademark. So I mean, Google or any platform for that matter
Yeah,
can
yeah, yeah.
decide a random word in your ad. I know people who've had the word focus um, blocked because it's the name of a Ford car.
Oh,
So
yes.
any word can get blocked, and then suddenly your ads are serving with like half the impressions they
Yeah.
could originally get,
Exactly.
or your account gets paused, your ads get paused, like anything can happen. So, like you said, putting all your eggs in one basket, very bad idea, and that's
Yeah.
advice that I give um, on the organic side largely. And it's the same thing. If all you're doing is blogs, all
The
you're doing is videos, all it's going to take is like one
one.
Google core update that's going to screw up your SEO, and then suddenly you have no other way to be discovered. If all you're doing is YouTube and your YouTube channel gets taken down, you've lost
You've
everything.
lost the battle. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
So, I
speaking,
mean, diversify, basically.
yeah, diversify. Speaking about this, when we're talking about industry, so one industry trademark issues always come is in health and medical industries. When I was working, I
Yes.
noticed that for like a lot of these cosmetic surgeons, when we would do PPC campaigns, most of our time, ads would remain disapproved because of the medical terms being used. Then you have to contact Google team and get your issues resolved. But they're doing totally fine on social. Like if you have your social media campaign running, they're doing perfectly fine over there, and they're optimizing. So an advice that even I give when I do consulting, or I do freelancing, even if you're a smaller brand, so people have this big notion about paid marketing, that you have to invest a lot of money, you have to invest a lot in the ad spend, which is not the case. It's it ideally depends on what are your goals, and how much are you ready to scale the business. Okay, if you have a budget of 500 $600 a month, which means you are a local business and you can handle only that amount of leads. So
Hmm.
it is possible to run your ads, probably not get the best cream traffic on Google, but that really doesn't mean that you cannot go to Facebook and run your ads. Okay, so I give an advice to all the clients is, even with lesser budgets, say 200 $300, but always have a brand campaign running on Facebook, or like any of these platforms, especially Facebook. It becomes easy with a smaller budget to run your campaigns. So that is a piece of advice I give all the brand, is that have at least one brand campaign running, so that if things like these happen, updates happen, stuff like that happen, you at least have something to fall back to. So this is when clients realize, oh my god, when suddenly everything stops, suddenly you become so important to their company. Whatever you were doing in the past few months, you suddenly become indispensable. Everybody is
Yeah.
looking up to you, or what to do. So having that kind of an omni-channel exposure, and the other importance of having an omni-channel exposure is, there are certain things like marketing automation. Like I started using HubSpot only when I became an omni-channel marketer, because you have so much of data coming now. If you focus on just one platform for Google, then it becomes easy. Google Analytics is there, Google Ads is there. You become pretty sorted and handling data also over there. But when I started doing Facebook ads, I started doing LinkedIn ads for B2B within the same brand. You have to start having looking at data and charts and reports. Like you need marketing automation basically. So I got exposed to tools like HubSpot. Then I started working with these email marketing tools. So all these exposure came to me only when I became an omnichannel marketer. It wasn't there when I would just do Google ads day in and day out. So,
I think the real magic in any marketing team happens when you have a nice multi-channel paid strategy, a nice multi-channel organic strategy, a
right,
nice multi-channel brand strategy, and then all of them come together
come
with the
together.
same fundamentals, right? The same positioning, the same value propositions. Like all of that is necessary. And
Right,
I've seen a lot of PPC teams operate in a very tight silo where the client just expects, like you said earlier, like just give us leads every single day. It has to be like, five
right,
every day or 10 every
right,
day.
right, right.
And it doesn't work like that, right? So the more you have all of these things working together, the better chance you have of all of them working the way they're supposed to as well as they can.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And as I said, like because these two platforms, when you talk about Google and any of the other social platforms, the kind of the audience and the funnel that you're targeting is very different. Like you cannot be speaking to people on Facebook as direct as you would probably position yourself on a Google Ads ad copy or a Google landing page. So that is going to be anyway. Just the audience is very different. So anything that you add on to your Google strategy is just getting you more. So you're widening your audience as just compared to people actively looking in the market. So that's
Yeah.
one thing.
One thing that's important to you is not just generating leads, but generating high quality leads.
High quality leads,
So
yeah.
what are some of the things that define a lead to you as high quality, and what are some of the things that you do to make sure you deliver on that quality?
Yes, so for me, high quality lead is someone who is aware of the brand. Like it shouldn't be when you run campaigns on social and Facebook, and I mean I'm sure a lot of marketers would agree. No matter how tighten you do the targeting, there are always people who saying, "Oh, we never filled the form," and this happens when you do not use a landing page and you use on Facebook form leads. Okay, that's also a feature on Facebook that you do not have to go to a landing page. You just fill in your details there. So that's the most low quality traffic, and everybody should avoid that. I mean, in today's like digital world, everybody has a website. If it's not a highly converting website, you can work towards that and make it optimized for conversions. But at all costs, you should avoid the on Facebook leads unless like the client is very stubborn and he doesn't want to have a website. Then just communicate to them before, like even when I even if the client has a website, sometimes you want to run as a test.
Hmm.
There's no right answer in marketing. That's the beauty of marketing, and that's sometimes the problem when it comes to client. There's no right answer. So
Yes,
I
very true.
even if I am running like a conversion campaign on Facebook or Google, there has been an instance wherein I would try seeing the low hanging fruit with the Facebook lead form, And so I inform the client, or I inform the brand that I am testing XYZ, but I have my eyes on it. So one piece of advice again coming is, and that's helped me grow my career over the years, is be responsible for the actions that you're taking. Even if you're making a minuscule change, like if you are bidding down on your device level on Google, or you're tightening your targeting, make sure to go ahead and check that in like 2-3 days or a week's time to see what happened to that campaign. Yeah, so sorry, coming back to the Facebook thing. Yeah, so if you really want high quality leads, one major thing is going to be have qualifying questions on the website. When you are getting a form filled for the client, rather than just asking for name, number, email ID, ask a set of client qualifying questions. And this always comes from the client, because we do not operate in the client's market as frequently as they are speaking to the salespeople, or they are dealing with their niche. So I always ask the client to give us 5 to 6 questions. For example, now right now, if you're in the travel industry, we tend to ask questions like, oh, what are the number of people who are traveling, and is there any particular requirement that you have on your travel? What is when are you planning to travel? Do you have a tentative date? So when you add these kind of 6 to 7 questions to your form, for example, when I was working in the education space, so you ask, oh, how are you going to be funding your education? Okay, have you appeared for the entrance exam? Have you got your documents done? So adding these kind of qualifying questions to your form is going to definitely improve the quality of the leads. Secondly, what I have done in the previously is use Calendly. Like once someone has filled your form on the website, the next step, in case of like, instead of just taking them to oh, thank you for da da da, we'll get in touch with you, it's better to have something like a Calendly in place. So you're moving the person further down the funnel. Okay, they have no longer just given you their details, they also want to go ahead and schedule a consultation with your team, wherein they go ahead, book name, number, and they pick up a time slot. Again, the strategy doesn't end there. The show up rate on calls is also quite low sometimes, because and especially when you're working with the audience is a kind of a teenager market, or something like that. It's a very flirtatious audience. They tend to be inquiring so many places. Even I did that when I was planning to move. You inquire, you find out, you research a lot about things, and you tend to forget, oh, did I book a call over here? So what I like to do is, I like to have a follow-up sequence. For example, if our call is scheduled for next Friday, within this week, I ensure to send them 2-3 reminders, and not reminders as in, just reminding, oh, you have a call book. I tend to send them some educational content. Oh, okay. If you are, inquiring about immigration, you're trying to move to Canada. So I would send them an ebook, or I would send them a simple email saying that 5 things to know before you move to Canada, or, like 10 things to do once you land in Canada. So trying to keep them engaged till the time they actually show up on the call. So the one best way to get high quality leads is, do not stop at the form. If the client, and mostly clients do have Calendly options, and they prefer that. For when I had learned about this, I was a little skeptical. I'm like, oh, are people going to be accepting this? I didn't know how does it work. But after speaking to clients, especially here in North America, they respect that fact more. They're like, oh, it's good that people book a slot on my calendar, rather than we giving them a call at any time, which probably would not be convenient for them. So it's better that our inquiries go ahead, and they pick up a time, and then our sales team can get into calls. So yeah, not ending your the lead generation, not stopping only at the lead generation, but nurturing them in the background is one thing to ensure you're getting good quality leads. And yeah, the quality of traffic, this is going to the basics. Now, going to the basics is going to be the quality of traffic. If your traffic source is Google, then I am very crazy when it comes to looking at search terms. I would go every single day. I go every second single day also to twice in a day to see the kind of traffic. Sometimes I get impatient with seeing that, because Google gives you that benefit. I mean, in Facebook, you pretty much have less less control over who's watching your ad, what's happening, and stuff like that. But when Google gives you that kind of benefit, I try to exploit it. So I look at the quality of traffic at the platform level. Of course, that's going to be a basic. And second thing, to ensure the quality of leads, has been connect with the sales team once in a week. That's what I've been done ever since I've
Hmm.
moved to my in-house role. Even when I was working with agencies, we had a process wherein we would audit 10 to 15 calls each month, and they
Hmm.
are a mixture of short calls, any call below 60 seconds and any call beyond a minute or so. Listen to both calls, okay? And surprisingly, there is a lot of feedback that you I mean, there are a lot of negatives, and there are a lot of ad copy ideas that come when you're actually listening to the audience speaking. It's like it's coming from the horse's mouth. So I would take notes. Oh, this is this. So, and there used to be a lot of commonly asked questions. Like, I've done a lot of dating campaigns also. So there were certain commonly asked questions about the particular niche. So I would take that feedback, go back to the client, try to implement whatever I've heard into my ad copy, and it really works out. So stay in touch with the sales team. They'll be more than happy to provide feedback. And when you're doing different funnels, okay, now when you become an omni-channel mean buyer, because you're running two different campaigns, your Google ads inquiries are going to be speaking very differently. They know the problem. But when you speak about Facebook ads, and people are still in consideration, they do not know your brand as much, inform the sales team. That's what I have done when I work with brands. I inform them that these are two different ad sources. This is how people will behave. On Facebook, if you call up a Facebook lead and say, hey, I'm calling from XYZ, they might hang up the call. Okay, you have to start a conversation like very differently. They're not exposed to our brand as much, so you have to touch them at various points before even you can get on a call with them. So these are the two. It's a long process. It gets overwhelming at times, but it is required. I mean, I would prefer giving quality leads even if they are 5 in a week, rather than giving 100 in a week and it's taking people nowhere. So that, and again, like based on my experience, sit with the client and like nail out the details on how many leads can they even actually handle. That's been my challenge with the local businesses, because I put in my best shot, like best landing page, everything focused on conversion, traffic quality is good, you get that amount of leads coming. But on the back end, the client is not they're not ready to handle that kind of volume. And this also becomes a challenge when you work with bigger brands and then you suddenly start working as a freelancer with like local businesses or even smaller brands. So have that kind of clarity in your mind, because I mean, one thing I do not like is starting the campaign, putting in all the work, and just pausing the campaign from coming out from nowhere. So it's like so much of work time, the client's money is gone, and just to hear that, oh, now they cannot handle the leads. That happens time and again, and that also gives me joy. Okay, something's working right. We are generating the amount of leads that they want. They're getting what they want out of my services. That is okay sometimes, but like randomly pausing the campaign all the time because they cannot handle the volume of lead. So speak to your clients, and then accordingly have your budgets allocated accordingly. Take strategic decisions on how much do you want to scale your campaign. So that's also been all these things sound so simple, and it looks like common, but when you actually doing it alone,
It's not
yeah,
easy.
it's not
Yeah, I
easy.
know.
Yeah, it's not easy.
I love everything you just said. Like the fact that you're thinking about the whole experience and not just getting that click and that conversion.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's absolutely phenomenal, and that's how performance marketers, PPC specialists, whatever job title or description you may have. I think that's how you have to think about campaigns. It's how everyone should have always thought about campaigns, but I
Right,
think now more than ever it's incredibly important
right, right,
because you've touched on everything, right? You touched on the quality of the campaign itself, targeting, creatives, all of that stuff. You touched on conversion rate optimization on the landing page.
right,
You touched on follow-up experience and content and continuing to engage with them as part of that funnel and then not just abandoning them. And then even the sales component, right? You're thinking about, can the sales team handle this volume? Can they give me any kind of business intelligence that I can use to write better ads or improve targeting. And that's how it has to work. It has to be
Right.
a closed loop of feedback. It can't just be, okay, my job is to get you the clicks
Leads.
and the lead form filled, and then that's it. Like my job is over. No, it doesn't. It doesn't end
It
there.
doesn't.
And I think it's much easier to do that when you're in house.
Yes, yes,
When you're an
absolutely,
agency, it's much
absolutely.
tougher.
It's much
So,
more difficult. Yes.
so what advice would you give to somebody in a PPC agency? What
Um,
advice would you give them in terms of educating the client that like this is how we have to function in order to deliver the best possible value?
So again, like coming back to this, I am very careful on the kind of agencies that I work with. Like after Superflow, I think I haven't worked with agencies, and I don't see myself going into the agency world so soon again, like as a full timer. I do not see that because BP. So it really depends on the kind of clients that you get into your agency. There are two kind of agencies. One agency just act as a vendor. They are just a vendor, and they're just doing what the client is asking for. Okay, if the client says run brand awareness campaign, they're just putting all the money in brand awareness and impressions and clicks. They are not talking even about lead generation or conversions for that factor. So I'm very careful on the agencies that I work with. And yeah, I mean, it really depends on the client. If the clients are not ready to share feedback, there is ideally no way that you can then sort of go beyond this. Like there are so many call tracking platforms. I When I was working previously with agencies, they had an in-house automated tool wherein where it would record all the calls that were coming. It was given a vanity number that records the calls that are coming in and stuff like that. So we had access to audit those calls. So that's been my agency experience for 2.5 years. I could listen to all the calls that were coming in. And right now, what I do in house, so we have something like Invoca, wherein we can hear conversations that are coming to a level that I know that these calls have come from Facebook, these calls have come from Google, and and other traffic sources. So I mean, I really do not have an answer to if the client is not ready to share their details. And yeah, but that's definitely a challenge in where agency do not have the say, and clients do not want to share data beyond a level. So that can really become a challenge. But yeah, if you
Yeah.
speak to the client, and I think educating the client, down with them and showing the value that it would bring, then I mean, if they say no, then that's just self damage that they're doing. If we are working together to improve the quality of leads for you, then you should
Mhm.
be open to give us a feedback on the calls that have come. So
Yeah, one thing I've seen a lot of people, especially in PPC chat, what they advocate for is actually open up the campaigns and the landing pages and walk people through it and show them what it's like. Um, if everything just ends at that form submission or the checkout, uh, you're losing on so
you're
much that you
losing,
can
yeah,
when you're talking about services or a B2B experience, you're losing out on that final conversion. And when you're talking about e-commerce or direct to consumer, you're missing out on repeat business. So
right,
these are really great ways to make sure that you get the business in the first place, and also sustain that business and have them as
exactly,
repeat
yeah.
customers. Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. Getting business and clients beyond a point becomes like easy. It's not easy, but yeah, it, it's manageable, it's figure outable. But yeah, like having to work with the same retainer or the same client for over like years and months, you need to have a process in place. Like that's also one thing I learned only when I started doing freelancing is to have a system and have a process in place, so that there's so much of time that goes in just figuring out things, or like unproductive task, I would say. So if you have
Mhm.
the right process in place, and your client is aware that these are the steps that you're going to follow, wherever there is a fill in the blanks, you need inputs from the client, it is their job to provide you that input. So that can help solve that problem.
One criticism I have of PPC and online advertising in general is it kind of conditioned clients into expecting that I can put money into this campaign and get leads out of it.
Yes,
But
yes,
that's not
that's
how it
not the
works. And
right.
sometimes you end up getting conversions that you were going to get anyway, because
Yeah.
PPC and advertising does not create demand, it just captures
Right,
demand.
right, right,
So
right,
they were gonna buy from you at some point, or at least they were in the market, and you just happen to present your specific solution or your specific product right when they were in a mindset to buy. So maybe they were already looking to buy from you, or they were looking to buy, if you're like a third party retailer, for example, somebody already decided, I'm going to buy a pair of Nike shoes, but maybe your ad offered a discount and they're like, okay, so I'll buy it from here, it's 30% off. But there's this whole segment of people who have never heard of your brand, who aren't ready to buy. And if you think about if you think about PPC just from the perspective of getting these leads, getting these sales, getting these conversions, and you're just ignoring this huge potential of people who might buy from you next week or next month, then that's just operating again in a silo. And you
right,
can't do that anymore, because people don't buy like that. It's
right,
it's
right,
not
right.
like
Yeah, the
I
audience has evolved. They've become much smarter. They understand
yeah.
what is an ad just trying to sell them, and they understand the difference now. So
Exactly. So a lot of the work of client education, I think, is kind of, for some agencies, I won't say for all, but for some agencies, is undoing the work of habituating clients to expect, if we put
right.
more money in, we'll get more leads and you'll get more business. And that
And
that doesn't always work.
and that's happened with me. Sometimes the clients, first of for them it's like easy. Instead of $1,000, I'm putting $2,000, and my lead should go up from 50 to 100. That does not happen, and in the first month, it's so. I mean, I don't know. It's a contradictory, and to explain that to the client becomes difficult. I have seen leads dropping in, because it takes time to optimize the campaign. It's not as easy as just increasing the budget. So whether it comes to Google or Facebook, you have to make incremental increases to the business, putting like just. So now I'm not saying if you're at 100, go slowly, 100 each month, and then towards the end reach 1,000. No, but if you are already well sufficient, look at your auction insights report. If it's not that you're not getting that impressions, it could be a conversion problem on your landing page. If you are at a good, or it's no more a traffic problem, then it's your conversion problem, it's your product problem. You have to look at that. Or probably you're not retargeting people, you are just leaving the money on the table, you're just depending on one traffic channel. So, and yeah, just increasing the budget always, for me and my experience, it's always reduce the leads. And in the
Yeah.
second month, you are answerable to the client. They are sitting with the notion that, oh, my leads are going to go from 50 to 100. But that doesn't happen. And sometimes, honestly, I've seen that, if your ads start showing at the first position instead of second and third, your leads drop. I have
Yeah.
seen that with mobile experience, because most of the people probably they do not click on the very first ad, they click on the second or the third ad. So the budget is going to be getting you show on the first position of Google, the first place, but people might not be clicking on your ad then, and you have started paying more for showing up at that top position. So yeah, I mean, this is the most good you got the topic. And that, with on my agency side of experience, that's always been the case, because people like, oh, they are increasing their budget, but there's nothing other. Okay, I understand with the increase in the budget, if you've increased your focus, okay, no longer from
Hmm.
saying just student visa, you started offering services for PR, you started offering services for or like other programs. So then, okay, then
Hmm.
you're giving me a scope to add new keywords to the campaign. You're giving me
Yeah.
scope to do different things with your ad copy. Then this increased budget is making sense. New keywords are coming, they're using the increased budget. But just just throwing away money, I mean, it's not a casino, that you throw money and you start getting that. So that's been so yeah, I have been I'm very because we are not making anything out of that. If the agencies are getting the client to spend like instead of $1,000, spend $2,000, unless they are getting a revenue share from the ad spend. I mean, unless, then the money is just going to Google. I mean, if
Yeah.
I'm just working with brands and stuff like that, they're just paying money to Google, but then it will become my problem because the leads have not increased. So I educate the client before Holi now that your leads, I'm not saying that the leads will not increase, but let's do it strategically. Let's put in like make 5 to 10% increase every 2 weeks. See if we are moving in the right direction. Otherwise you are going to spoil an already optimized campaign. So one thing is, do not work with impatient clients because they will spoil their own game. That has happened with me, because they want leads daily. You cannot
Mhm.
keep making massive changes to Google Ads platform daily. With Facebook and social, it still becomes okay, you make changes, they optimize faster. But with Google, that is not the case. You have to give it time. You cannot damage your own campaigns. So
And that's even more important if you're using any of Google's automations like Smart Bidding
right,
or
right,
Performance Max.
right,
The algorithms need time to understand what works, what
right,
doesn't work. You have
right.
to have that understanding with the clients in the
Yeah,
beginning that
yeah,
there's going to be a learning phase. We're not going to have as many leads as we typically do, or we might, but they might not be as high quality as we're used to. So
right,
you need to set
right.
expectations in the beginning and then be
Yeah.
patient.
So
And
since
then
you
once you've run the test, you can come back and
yeah,
make
so
conclusions.
since you mentioned about smart bidding and marketing automation, one of the things that we wanted to touch on. So yeah, what I do is, when it comes to marketing automation within Google Ads platform is, so two sets of clients, I always categorize them. One which have a high budget and depends on their ticket size. For example, real estate, I tend to generally start off the campaigns as maximize conversions because they have that risk bearing capacity. For example, in a real estate, if my CPL goes from $100 to 120 or 130 or even say 150, they are not
Mhm.
going to be panicking at a level that a local business or a e-commerce owner will panic, because their margins are so small and they're limited and restricted. So local businesses with a low ticket size are going to be very mindful of where their CPLs are going and what needs to be done. So what I do with marketing automation or smart bidding is, okay, if I have a high ticket size wherein I know if I put 300 $400 as my CPA also, but in the back end my client is going to make 50 60,000 ticket size out of it, then it makes sense for them, for me to directly start using marketing automation like target CPA and market maximize conversion. It makes our life easy. You do not have to look at keywords bid daily. But if I have a local business whose ticket size is also within $1,000 $2,000, I generally start with manual bidding, like enhanced CPC, so that I have control over how much am I bidding on those keywords. And yes, once I see around 30 to 35 conversions in the account in a month or 1.5 month, then I switch those campaigns to target CPA, maximize conversion, and all these kind of different bidding strategies that Google comes up with. And yeah, as you said, with automation you lose a lot of control. Like you do not have control on the devices, then all your down bids on device, all these things start becoming like it's inactive. The automated bidding doesn't take care of that. But yes, automation when it comes to higher budget and bigger brands, automation is a lifesaver. You cannot go to so many campaigns daily, check their keywords, and check what's actually happening with them. So that's definitely a thing. And the second thing is like not automation bidding, but sort of automation that you can use in Google is the Google rules. I used to do that. This especially happens when you are using brand terms in your campaign. To put a more relatable example, when I was doing campaigns for one of the universities here in Canada, so what would happen is, like students and people, because it was a renowned university, people will start searching with their brand terms. Okay, now what happens is when people start searching with your brand terms, you get two kind of traffic. One could be people who are interested in taking admission in a particular university. One could be the
Mhm.
existing students. Okay, they just want to call and check for their class timing, or they want to know XYZ stuff like that. So what I did is I used automated rules that in a particular day, if my spend on my brand term has reached like whatever 100 200, the keyword would pause and the next day it would automatically start. So yeah, so whenever you're using brand term in your campaigns, or your if it's but only just a brand campaign, then it's a different thing. But if you have your brand name as an ad group in your existing campaign, try to use automated rules so that you can reduce that kind of, because you, as you mentioned previously, that they are going to get those leads any which ways. It could have
Yeah.
ideally come through them through this traffic source or this traffic source, but now that we are putting money, people are using that kind of a service. So yeah, try to use same similar rules existed on Facebook also, Facebook automated rules. And
Yeah.
so these are the two things that I've used extensively in my career.
We're big fans of automation at Optmyzr.
Yeah.
Many of our capabilities are built around automation, and there's an idea that we're pioneering called automation layering. And the
Oh,
idea is that Google has their automation. You should have automation of your own
too. Right, right.
that
Absolutely.
is built to protect your accounts or increase your performance, not only the performance of your accounts, but your performance as human marketers. So the idea is to make your campaigns not AI powered, but AI assisted or automation assisted. So, like you said, building rules is a wonderful way to get some of that control back so that you don't manually have to be there and take action in the interface. So, we make
Right,
that possible through the rule engine and Optmyzr. You can use automated rules in Google, but you should use some form of automation control and
right,
build
right.
layers of control
Absolutely.
for yourself. Yeah. It's about supply and demand. If I walk into a burger shop 20 minutes before they close and I say I want 500 burgers, they're not going to have 500 burgers available or the time to
Absolutely.
make it. If I walk into Walmart 1 hour before they close and I, show up at the counter with 5 carts full of stuff, there's probably going to be one or two counters open that can actually check me out. And there are probably going to be a bunch of people waiting for last minute purchases. So you have to think of it the same way. In the Walmart analogy, that's your sales team. Can they actually
Right.
handle the volume?
Right.
And with the burger joint, it comes back to e-commerce and retail. Do you have the supply to meet that demand? And it works both ways. You can't sell more than you actually have,
Have,
but
right.
if you're selling less than you have, then you're leaving money on the table.
On the table, yeah. No, surprisingly, I think now because of automation coming in, I do not see that much often. But previously, I'm talking about 2 3 years back, there were instances when you go to a e-commerce site, people are running traffic to that, there is paid traffic being run, but when you go to their site, it's out of stock. Like with Google shopping campaigns, I've seen that when you go to their website, the money is being spent any which ways, but when someone comes to your landing page, the stuff that's out of stock totally. There's nothing else that you can choose. So yeah, with automation, I've seen like all these minute errors are which have a bigger impact are being taken care of. So
Yeah.
that's a great thing.
Sasha, there's so many more things that we could talk about
Yeah.
that we don't have the time for.
Yeah.
Anybody who's watching or listening, how can they get in touch with you to learn more, ask you questions? What's the best way to get in touch with you?
So you can reach out to me on LinkedIn to know more about me. I have my website www.reachashna.com, and I'm also looking at launching a training program for beginners. Giving them advice and training them on on paid ads, basically lead generation via paid ads. I'm still working on creating that, and this idea came through when I was studying at Seneca. So I had people who were like 20, 21 years just starting into marketing, who do not have that kind of experience. They would always reach out to me, like, oh, they want to learn what I do and stuff like that. So I'm like, let's streamline into that. So that will be live soon. But yeah, the best channel to get in touch with me is either my LinkedIn, and or you can go to my website and to know more about me and my journey.